Hello, I am Mavis, and here we talk about God and we talk about you and we talk about how God designed you to prosper, how God designed you to succeed. And so, what we do is not just knowing that God designed all of us to succeed, it's acknowledging it, yes, but also taking the steps brick by brick to make the changes that are necessary in our lives so that we can tap into the success that God has for us. Yeah? So, first of all, you have to be a believer to tap into God's success plan. You're not going to prosper with God if you don't walk with Him. So you have to believe in God. You have to fear Him. You have to desire His will. You have to have it in your heart as a commitment you have made to walk in His ways, because you can succeed other ways. But succeeding God's way is the best kind of success, because God is the only one who knows the end from the beginning. He is the one who is able to coordinate your spiritual life, your physical life, your financial life, your relationships, everything for good. Most of the times when we try to figure things out on our own, we find ourselves in a place where we have disadvantaged one space. We don't have wholesome success. And that's what we don't get when we walk with God, when we choose God's way. Right? So in a time like this where we see everybody prospering, where we see everybody growing, we just have to realize and make it a decision in our hearts to walk with God, to honor Him, and to prosper with His way. I was reading Luke 16 and verse 10, 11, and that's what we're talking about, God's promotion process. God desires for you to prosper in your career, because that's what you're going to spend most of your time doing, to prosper in your work, to prosper in your business, whatever you spend your time doing, which is your livelihood. God desires for you to prosper in that. And how do you prosper in that? You prosper in that by choosing to walk in His ways, by fearing Him, by aligning with His purpose. And this is what we're doing by taking scripture and taking the lessons that are there and then applying it in our different lives. Yeah. So Luke 16 verse 10 talks about how God says, if you are not faithful in the little, don't expect much. That's God's process. Whatever you do with what you've been given right now determines how you prosper, how you move forward. If you don't manage well the little you're given, there's no way you're going to get the next level. There's something with money. Let's say you want $10,000 every month, but every month you have $200. What are you doing with the $200? You don't know. You can't budget. You can't account for it. It's making you go wild when you receive it. There is no way you're going to be qualified for the next level if you are dishonest, if you are not, diligent with what you have. You see? So, let me give you an example of this guy, Joe. Joe was in a job he hated. He didn't want to work it, but he had no choice because he wanted to survive. So he was in that job. Joe was a very diligent person. He was excellent in what he did. He didn't know that job, but when he went to that job, he started to learn. He started to connect with people. He started to do his best. Before you know it, his manager loved him. Everyone who worked with him enjoyed working with Joe. But Joe was not where he wanted to be, honestly. If you could ask him what he wanted to do, he wanted to leave that place. But he had no choice. He was in that place in that season, and he continued to work. One time, he met a friend in that office. That friend was not doing well. And Joe asked him, what's up with you? And that friend needed help, needed advice. And Joe sat down with him, shared his thoughts, shared his ideas. And that guy never forgot him. He said, you know what? I'll remember what you've done for me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for helping me. And then Joe moved on with his life. Much later, when that guy who Joe helped left and was working in a different job, he remembered Joe. There was a perfect opportunity that required Joe's consulting skills. And he remembered the advice Joe gave him and how it changed his life. And so he told his boss, there is this guy named Joe. I worked with him one time. If you want this problem solved, you have to get in touch with Joe. And Joe's life was transformed in that moment. That referral, that person who remembered him, changed Joe's life. You see there? Joe didn't even apply for anything. Joe didn't have to do too much. He just needed to be faithful with where he was in that moment. And Joe is Joseph in the Bible. I've just told the story to make it relevant to our life right now. But Joe is Joseph in the Bible. That guy was in prison. That guy was being treated badly in prison. He wasn't supposed to be in prison, but he was there. But he was doing a diligent work. When he saw one of his people who he was supervising going through a hard time, looking unhappy, he reached out to him and asked him what's going on. And that guy said, I had a dream, it's bothering me. And Joe helped. When that guy left prison, he forgot Joe for a while, but there was an opportunity that came. And God brought Joe to this guy's remembrance. And that changed Joe's life forever. That's just how it is. if you're faithful in the little that you have right now, God is able to qualify you and promote you to the next level. It's just simple like that. You don't even have to cry and fast and whatever. No, most of us are unfaithful in what God has given us. Most of us are unfaithful in the little because we want the bigger things. We want the better opportunities. We want the better geographical location. We want the better money. We want everything better. But what we have right now, we're not managing very well. We're being dishonest with what we've been given. And when we do that, we disqualify ourselves from God's promotion process. We just move ourselves out there and we just choose to be frustrated. We're basically choosing to not be elevated by God when we don't stay faithful in what He has given us. Right? So how do you stay faithful? How do you get promoted by God? What are the practical things you can do? Right? So like already right now, we have gone through 1 month. We're going into a second month. What have you done in the prior month that helps you move forward in the second? We want better in this new month. We're like, I want elevation. This is my month. But what did you do last month? If you are not faithful with last month, what makes you think you'll be faithful with this month? If you're going to do the same thing you were doing last month, what makes it different in this new month? So it has to be up to you to make a decision to say, you know what, I want to be promoted by God. And this doesn't mean prayer. This doesn't mean fasting. This doesn't mean giving. As a believer, those things are important and you should partake in them. But if you want to be promoted by God, you have to be faithful with what He has given you. He has given us parable over parable in the Bible where He's showing fruitfulness, how fruitfulness is important, how being creative is important, how being shrewd is important. So you have to choose, make it a decision for you to say, I'm going to improve my skill. I'm going to be innovative in my field. I'm going to manage the time God has given me, the resources, the job, the business He has given me, the relationships He has given me. I'm going to elevate myself in all these spaces. I'm going to show up strong, be excellent in all these places. I might not enjoy it, but I know God is able to move me from where I am to the next level. And He doesn't move me just because He's feeling sorry for me. He moves me from one level to another because He has seen my heart. He has seen my diligence. Even in my weakness, He knows that I am true. I am faithful, right? So most of us believers think that prayer, fasting, mercy, grace, this takes away the responsibility. Takes away the responsibility to be faithful, to be diligent, to be hardworking, to be creative, to be innovative. It doesn't. And if we don't see that, then we'll have a tough time in our lives. We'll have a tough time in our finances and our careers because we're not following the process that God has put. You see, so many non-believers prosper because they're strategic. They see the gap and they say, how can I play my role in this area? How can I prosper in this job, in this economy? And they do the math. The Bible actually says there's no one who sits down and starts doing a project without calculating the cost. You have to calculate the cost. Is that spiritual? No. Let me see, something is popping up here. Okay, I had put some reminders that are stopping me from continuing anyway. But is that spiritual for you to calculate the cost? No, it's not. It needs you to sit down, to read a book if you don't know how to calculate the cost. If you don't know how to assess your progress in your field, you need to sit down, you need to study, and you need to calculate. If you don't do that, you miss out. So you pray and you fast, you be in the mountains, you do whatever. You do the extra, you give, you tithe, and you will not succeed. Because that's not how you get fruit. Fruit does not come from any other shortcut. The Bible actually says that if you choose a shortcut, you just harm yourself. Those people who are diligent, they're the ones who prosper. And it says those who are not diligent are going to be slaves to these people who are diligent. And this is what we see. Most believers are slaves working for the non-believers who are diligent, the non-believers who are innovative, the non-believers who are creative, the non-believers who are strategic. So you, after you've seen yourself in the prior month, you've seen how you've performed. Did you have any goals? No. Did you see any progress? Is there anything that you saw and you said, you know what, tap myself on the back? Is there something you saw and said, I need to change in this? You have to do that kind of assessment for yourself because that is the diligence that God requires from you for you to be a faithful steward of what He has given you. So He has given you little. What are you doing with it? You sit down and say, God, you give me this. I only had £100. I only had $100, but this is what I did with it. I'm not saying give it. Because sometimes as Christians, we say, I only had £100 and I gave it. No. Wisdom. Did God say you should give it? Did God say you should start a business? Did God say you should maybe pay something? You have that wisdom. If you don't have wisdom and you think you can appease God by just giving carelessly, you will miss out. Because again, the Bible says that you should give what you have decided in your heart. That means you think over it. You don't just impulsively give it and think, it will come back to me. It doesn't work that way. You see? So how can we be, as believers, promoted by God in our different businesses, in our different careers, in our different spaces? Whether you're already promoted and you're happy where you are, but you're thinking there are levels to this, where you're trying to relocate, whether you're trying to, just get better in a different field, or you're trying to actually get into a career, whatever it is. How can you prosper? Number one, you have to review and reflect. I mentioned that already. Especially in these times when you're moving from one month to another, when you're moving from one week to another, have those times of reflection to understand, what did I do with what I was given? God gave you 24 hours yesterday. What did you do with it? Did you give 10% of that to social media? Did you give 10% of that to, like, be aware. Be aware of what you're doing with what God has given you. So reflect and also review. So what did you like about your prior month? What did you do well? I'll give you an example. I don't like my sleep routines. It was my goal in January to just have a proper bedtime routine and to wake up early. That's all. And that was hard. I did that maybe 1/3 of the month. The rest of the month I was sleeping late. Somehow, just because I've said I want to sleep at 10 or 9:30, the energy that hits me at 9:30 is fire. I'm like energetic, I'm creative at 9:30. And therefore that has made it hard for me to sleep early. But when I sleep early, I usually have powerful mornings where I work out, where I pray, where I get organized about my kids and everything. It really is wonderful when I have my early bedtime. So I know that is important for me in the season, but it is hard to do. So this new month, I don't say, I've tried, I give up. No, this month I say, what do I need to change about my bedtime routines that really is going to help me wake up early or sleep early? You know, one thing I know I have to change? One thing I have to change is I need to stop creating at bedtime. Stay away from my phone. Stop creating, stop browsing, stop scrolling. So when it's 8:30, put my phone away. Put it away. And I know I will take it up again. So I will tell my kids, who can be quite persistent, I'll tell them, when it's 8:30, babies, don't let mommy be on a phone. Sometimes I won't listen to them, but it does bother me when they correct me when I have told them to do it. So that's just me reviewing and reflecting. Because if we don't review and reflect, we keep doing what we're doing and we wonder why we're not getting results from what we're doing. So it's important to review, to reflect, and to make adjustments. What did you do with January? What are you going to do in February? What did you do with last week? What are you going to do in this week? What were your weak points? What were your strong points? That is you being diligent with the time God has given you. And if you're diligent with that, God is going to increase you. That is the qualification. Be faithful with what you've been given. Number 2 is master the small before you move to the big. Everyone wants to be big. We all want to succeed. We all want to do well. And social media shows us what other people are doing. So you can see success, you can see progress, and you're like, I want that. I want to tap into that. But how are you going to tap into that? You first of all manage what you've been given. This is why the story of Luke 16 verse 10 to 11 comes up. God says, if you're not faithful with these simple random things I've given you, how am I going to trust you with more treasure, more valuable things? He won't. So you really need to master where you are. Have a spirit of excellence. If you're a believer, excellence is worship. Don't take it lightly. What is your attitude in your work? What is your attitude with the relationships you have? Are you resigned? You know how you are resigned? You're like, I'm just here for the money. I don't care. If you have that attitude, you stay there forever. You stay small forever. Change your attitude. Have that attitude where you know that God has me in mind. If I am here, I feel stuck or I don't feel like I'm in the right place, it's okay. But God has me in mind. He's got my back. So I'll be faithful here. I told you the story of Joseph, right? He was in prison. He could have said, you know what? I don't like being in prison. I hate it. So I'm just going to ignore everyone. I'm just going to just coast. He didn't do that. He decided to be faithful. And then he was remembered. He made the right connection in prison. So where you are right now, you can make the right connections if you have a good attitude, if you do excellent work, if you time manage. Don't just be late for everything. Be on time, be present, be positive, be optimistic, be solution driven. How can you be that? You have to work on yourself in your private time, because it's hard for you to just be optimistic and excellent in your work when all the time at home you sleep or relax and watch TV and watch and scroll. No, you have to be intentional about growing, about learning, about cultivating your skills, so that you can add value in conversations, you can add value in your workplace, you can add value in the spaces that you operate in, you can add value in your relationships. So set aside time in your goals. How can I master my skills? How can I better myself? How can I add value? Where are there gaps? And how can I fill those gaps with the skills and the talents and the interests that I have? That is going to be a game changer for you, So you're building a brand of integrity and excellence. That is worship. That is the type of person God promotes, a brand of excellence. How you show up, how you look, how you speak, excellent. You're not just going to get there, so you have to be patient with yourself, right? But just be committed, be on that journey. You will see progress when you start to read, listen to podcasts, pray, study the Bible. When you start to make consistent commitments and giving your attention to these platforms that have quality information, they'll start to change how you think, how you see things, how you operate, how you dress, how you carry yourself. And you start to add value in your different spaces. So master the small, master what you've been given, the resources, the time, the job, the friendships, whatever you've been given right now, master it. And then the big will come through to you, right? And then there is also set and commit. Now that we've said the first step is you review and reflect, and then you master your craft, then set goals. What are you doing in this new month? Don't set goals that are like so big outside your reach. You're like, I'm going to make all this money. Well, I'm going to get this new job. No. What can you do in this new month? What can you do to move yourself closer to it? For me, in this new month, I'm still pushing that goal to have a solid sleep routine, to reduce my social media time, my scrolling time, and use that to read. To increase my prayer time, because that helps me calm down and operate in the fruit of the Spirit, to be more faithful, to be more diligent. And it also helps me to see opportunities. Sometimes I am so in tune with God that I'm sitting down and I hear, don't say anything or speak something to this person. And it helps. But that doesn't happen. Me being in tune with God doesn't happen if I just woke up and I was scrolling and I was talking and I was all over the place. It helps when I wake up and I'm quiet. It helps when I spend time meditating, just thinking, or just reading the Bible. So those are things that I want to really focus on in this new month. And it doesn't mean I'll focus on all those things. For me, it boils down to my bedtime routine. If I sleep in time, I wake up in time, then things just fall into place in the morning. Then I have more time to work out, to pray, to be quiet, to plan my day and stuff like that. You see? So set and commit to your goals. You have to pray, you have to prepare, and you have to execute. And then also be patient. Pray. Set aside time for prayer. It doesn't have to be an hour. Sometimes you can set crazy goals. I want an hour prayer. You don't even pray for 10 minutes. Set aside time. It's about the habit. What time is perfect for you to pray? Put it in your calendar, prayer time. And you just take a minute, 10 minutes, pray. Then, after you pray, you have to prepare. Your prayer is not just praying for prayer's sake. Your prayer should give you strategy. You should have ideas after you pray. You should have strategy after you pray. You should know what to do and what not to do after you pray. Sometimes it's just simple as have better habits. Stop talking back to people, or stop being so angry all the time. Stop being late. Wake up earlier. Stuff like that should come up from your prayer time. God is trying to help you grow, to change, to be fruitful in your life. And so your prayer time is not just going to be like, oh, give everything. No, it's going to be practical, and it's going to affect your day-to-day life. So pray. And then after you pray, you are preparing. How are you going to prepare? If you say you want to be working out more, what are you going to wear when you wake up to work out? What time are you going to work out? Have you signed up for anything? Who is going to be accountable who are you going to be accountable to as you set up your workout? Go. Those are simple, practical things. That's you preparing, because you just don't want to pray and receive the anointing of God and power, and then you have no plan for it. That's frustration, right? So have plan. That's where you prepare, where you get organized, where you seek a partner, a friend, or even just an app that keeps you accountable, where you put a calendar invite or a reminder in your phone that reminds you of the commitment you have made. And then execute. Execute is just wake up and do it. Sometimes you think, oh, I'll have 1 hour of workout, and you work out only for 15 minutes. That counts. Do it. Just keep doing it. Persistence helps. When you are persisting, you're patient with yourself, you understand you're changing, you're growing, it will bring results. Yeah? And then, honestly, ultimately, what you have to understand if you're a believer is that God is on your side. There are hordes of angels. You know that story in the Bible that talks about angels that were surrounding a house? There was a guy and he was under attack. I think it's either Elisha or Elijah, one of those. He was under attack, and his worker looked outside and he saw that, oh my goodness, master, there is a group of soldiers against us. We have no weapons, we have nothing. They're going to destroy us. They're outside. And this prophet of God just said, you know what? There are more for us than those against us. The Lord opened his eyes so that he can see. The Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he saw that beyond this army of people who were coming to attack them, there were armies, more armies, bigger armies of angels for them. So these, in the physical world, you could think that they were surrounded. But in the spiritual world, those who are surrounding them were actually the ones surrounded. You as a child of God, you have hordes of angel armies for you. The blood of Jesus covers you. You are preserved and protected and favored. You are operating from a place of advantage. But yet, how come you don't see that advantage in your real life? We're not tapping into it. We need that experience where God open our eyes so that we can see. We can see opportunities. We can see our laziness. We can see our weaknesses. We can see where we are stagnating ourselves. We can see our lack of discipline. We can see it, and then we can make the changes. Yes, we are praying. Yes, we are fasting. But what change do we need to make right now? What connections do we need to make? Sometimes you're sitting in that office, you're frustrated, and God has sent you an angel to help you. A person who's just asking you a question, and that person, if you answer that question right and with a good attitude, they'll remember you forever, and you just throw away that opportunity with your bad attitude. And then you come back to God to pray, and God is like, I sent you help after help because you have a bad attitude, because you're not in tune with me, because you're not spending time to connect with me. You're missing out. You see? So our spirituality translates to practicality on a day-to-day basis. Our spirituality makes sense in our work. Our spirituality makes sense in our finances. But we have to tap into it. We have to tap into it. Yeah? So I hope this was helpful. Set goals. Like from this video, set goals for yourself. Like, what are you doing in this new month? It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it has to be something that helps you create room for God, helps you create room for creativity, helps you create room to move forward. Yeah? My name is Mavis. Let's see, my first time being live on this platform. So I'm trying to not lose this live and save it. I don't know how people do that. And I want to end this live. And I just don't know how to do that either. But anyway, if you have any questions in the comments, let me know. Yeah?
People were inviting you to a co-host. What does that mean?
I have no idea. That's why I'm saying this is my first time here. Doing it live. How do you save it? Humans. I don't know how to do this live. I'm glad it was helpful, honestly. I am glad it was helpful.
Or someone
But how
wants
do I
to
get
join
out?
live as a guest.
Somebody help me. How do I get out?
You're welcome.
Without losing my video so I can at least save it.
Someone said thank you, so I'm saying you're welcome.
Okay. This is my son. He likes to think he is interesting. That's what you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? I'm trying to save your life. If you're not going to help, then you should not.
I've never
Just
been
be
on
pop-
TikTok. You never let me go on TikTok.
I would never let you go on TikTok. Okay. But this live is over. And I'm trying to get out in a way that helps me save it. And I'm not sure I know how. You see, what I want to do is now get on my phone to actually say, how do you save the face thing live?
I don't.
It can't be saved. Then
I don't think live TikTok vids can be saved.
that sucks then. Guys, I can't be coming here to do a live if I can't save it.
Maybe the video can just be a little longer. Thank you for telling us that.
Just if it can't be saved, babe, that is tough, isn't it?